it has been triggered by what happened in Estonia, right, in 2006-7. Now, what are the objectives, right? If I now, for a moment, just take one step back and look at the NIS2 Act, let's say, what are the three main objectives? Number one, we want to enhance cyber resilience of the EU businesses, and that's what Europe wants. Now, cyber resilience is different from cybersecurity, right? Cyber resilience means if you get punched in the face and knocked down, how fast can you get back up on your feet and continue, right? So it is in Dutch, veerkracht. You want to anticipate attacks and incidents. So it's not a matter of can we avoid them altogether? It's a matter of when it happens, how fast can we get back into business? Right? That's the resilience part. Also, on the second objective, we want to standardize these security incident reporting across member states, right? So that each member state reports incidents in a similar way with a similar terminology, the same vocabulary, right? Because in this one, it was all like scattered and it was not streamlined. Right? And third, very important from a European perspective, Europe wants to boost cooperation and crisis management, right? When the cyber threat happens and we need to respond, it needs to be in a cooperative way. So that's why half of the NIS2 legislation is for member states. Right? You're like, what you're reading is like, what does this has to do with us as an organization? Nothing. It's all about how member states should work together and share information and proactively defend each other. Right? So that's very important within this too. Keep that in mind. All right. So if you would then tag it, first has to do with mindset. NIS2 wants to have a mindset in Europe of cyber resilience. Every client we talk to as SecWise, cyber resilient, and not cyber security, it's resilience. Right? You cannot be 100% secure. You have to be resilient. Right? And pre-incident, so the standardization is all about pre-incident and preparing. What are the communication lines across member states? And then the boost cooperation is also during the incident. Right? So we have to change the mindset to cyber resilience. We want to prepare our communication lines and our procedures in case of the incident. And then during the incident, we're not alone. We can work together. That's all on member state level. Now, you say, Jetro, that's all great, but what is in scope? Right? Looking at NIS2. And if you simplify it, there are three things we have to work on as an organization. Right? We have to work on risk management, incident reporting, and supply chain security. Right? So risk management, it's all about, continuous looking and evaluating information security risks. Right? So NIS2 is not a one-shot project. It is instilling or implementing the mindset in an organization of continuous awareness and risk assessment on cybersecurity, right? So it is continuously looking at what are the weaknesses, what are the vulnerabilities, what are my risks, evaluating those risks, making an action plan in the organization, and then implementing that action plan. So that could be, for example, in our organization, we still have not 100% multi-factor authentication for our users, right? Or we're still not having the right backup strategy, right? Or we have still legacy devices with no longer supported operating systems, right? Each of these risks could become a mini project or a project under the NIS2 umbrella, right? So NIS2, when I talk to customers, I say it is the skeleton, it's actually the spine, the backbone of your cybersecurity program, and it's going to attach a lot of projects next to it. So actually you want that all your IT security projects can be attached to NIS2, right? That's the idea, risk management, right? Also meaning implementing policies. You have to write down policies, right? Then we have incident reporting. So when an incident happens, a cyber incident, you have to communicate that to the national authorities. Now in Belgium, it's the CCB, the Cybersecurity Center Belgium. In the Netherlands, I believe the NCSC. So every country has one national authority for cybersecurity. And when an incident happens, you have to report. You have to notify them within 24 hours of detecting the incident. And then you have to do a follow-up reporting 72 hours later after discovering the incident. And then within 30 days of closing and finalizing that incident, let's say, you have to give a final report to the national authorities. Now, why is that? If you think about the European philosophy, these member states with their national authorities, they want to know if your company is under attack or has an incident and they're getting input from other organizations as well, they can see, wait a minute, this is not just an isolated thing, this is nationwide. And then they will liaison with other member states and check, are you having a similar cyber attack or incidents? Yes, okay. And then it escalates from organization to member state to European level, right? And they all kick in with their own resources to mitigate and respond to the incident, right? But it starts with us. I mean, we are the businesses, right? So we get attacked or we get the incident, we have to notify, in our case in Belgium, the CCB, right? And then another key pillar of NIS2 is supply chain security. Right? So in contrast with things like ISO 27001, which mainly focus on the organization itself. Yes, there is a control looking at suppliers, but in NIS2, it's really a core focus. You and your organization do not exist on an island. You do not exist in a vacuum. You have suppliers and you deliver goods and services to your customers. Therefore, that's the supply chain. There is an ecosystem, meaning if you have an incident and you're down, your customers are going to suffer, right? And if your critical suppliers are having a downtime, and it takes a week for them to recover. Let's say it's a malware or it's ransomware. It takes them a week or 2 weeks to recover. That means you won't get any services from them for 2 weeks, right? And if that puts you in a difficult spot, that maybe has a cascading effect down the supply chain, right? And so NIS2 says you have to also put some controls and expectations on your critical suppliers, supply chain security, right? By the way, if you have questions, please add them to the Q&A, so feel free. All right, now, of course, if you say Yetro, that's all great, but we have 27 member states, hundreds and thousands of organizations, entities, it's called, because it's not only a business, but can also be part of the government, so entities. Are they all treated the same way? No, there are two classifications, right? And that's either you're an essential entity or an important, or you're out of scope, right? Those are the only three options that there are. You're either out of scope or you're in scope, and then it's either essential or important. And as the name says, essential has even more stricter controls than in an important organization. Now, the CCB Belgium, we are top of class in the European Union, so they have great materials, safephoneweb.be, and I checked with them, and these, let's say, diagrams, you can apply them across Europe, right? It's not Belgium specific, right? So you take a look at your sector, you take a look at the size of your organization, right? Is it medium-sized or large? And those parameters are clearly defined in NIS2. And then you know I'm essential or important. Right? That's how you can scope it. Same thing in Annex 2, which is an appendix to the NIS2 directive. It also lists critical sectors that you also have to, I mean, if you're in one of these, you're also important or if identified. Sometimes there are very small players, so less than 50 people, but the government has appointed that organization as a critical supplier, right? I'm just saying something. If you are a supplier that provides ingredients or raw materials to print the money, right? Even though you can be less than 50 people, the government will say you are, for us, an essential supplier. So that means only if identified, right? Even if you're a small or micro enterprise. Think about, what was it, Telegram, for example, was it Signal, one of the two? I read today that they're only with 30 people, right? And they're serving billions of users worldwide. So even though, according to NIS2, 30 people is a small enterprise, you could say it's critical communication, right? So then they are appointed as essential or important. but most of them we are either important or essential. Now, what are the benefits? You say, Eto, this sounds complex. This sounds a lot of work for an organization. Should we do this? What are the benefits, right? So in essence, there are three main benefits: improved security, regulatory alignment, and reputation management, right? So of course, if you apply NIS2, it really is common sense when you read the controls, especially for the important class, let's say the least strict, like common sense controls. There are still way too many organizations that are like cybersecurity maturity baby, right? And NIS2 basically says, guys, you gotta be able to walk and stand on your own feet. So you have to raise the maturity level. And by doing that, you improve your security posture, right? So effectively improving that. Yes, Bert, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a question. Is this only for companies like educational and like universities, or?
What exactly the NIS2, you mean?
Yeah, I think he meant the NIS2, yeah. Why,
No, no.
it's only for, is this only for companies or also education institutes like universities? Is the question.
Okay, great. I don't know by heart, but every entity in Europe, including universities, need to take a look at what's my sector and then see if I'm listed there, and then if I'm in that sector, what is my size. So it's a bit too small for me now to see, but education, I don't know by heart if it's there, but we'll take a note of it and then come back. Okay, great question. By the way, um, these models are on the CCB website, so you can also take a look there. Great. Now, so I mentioned already improved security, clear. So really by applying NIS2, you are increasing the maturity of your cybersecurity. Yeah, it is really like that. Um, Also, regulatory alignments, of course, being in Europe, lots of regulations, and also there is the carrot, which is improved security, and there is the stick, which is fines, so that's there. And then reputation management, right? If you are actively pursuing a NIS2 certification, I mean, you're actively building up your competence, you can show that also to your customers and to your potential new customers as like a certification, like a badge, like I'm actively working on NIS2. It shows a commitment, right? And seeing cybersecurity as essential to your organization. Right. So those are the three benefits: security, compliance, and reputation.